Hello friends, welcome back to another video of Let's Take Food, which is your dose into the world of processed food. For the past few videos, I have been talking a lot about vegan food and the alternatives, and I had started to feel overwhelmed on usage of that word. So I have decided to part ways with it for some time being. So in this video, I am bringing to you the world of food regulation with special focus on differences between the food regulations in European Union and that in India. And as always, I will try to keep it as fun as possible. So let's get started. So both European Union and India before the 2000s, they had separate roles taking care of adulteration in food, the safety aspect and other aspects related to the processed food. But EU was the first one to realize among these two the importance of a harmonized food regulatory system boasted by the food scales like BSC and other microbiological safety related ones. Now since these scales in Europe, they were coming one after the another, the European Union, it realized that in order to continue the trade, they had to make sure that people's safety was also ensured, and it was just not about ensuring that the same trade laws existed around Europe. And hence they, after a lot of deliberation, harmonized and wholly accepted food regulations, they came into existence in the year 2011. And when I say years of deliberation, I mean a decade and a half. That's how long it took for them to get to a final draft. And this basically shows that Europe can also be slow. If I'm not wrong about the situation in India, then the major concerns were adulteration and not the safety related ones, and therefore the act which laid down the requirement for setting up of the Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, it came in 2006, which is called the Food Safety and Standards Act. And after the authority was formed, the regulations also came around the same time in 2011. First of all, there are some similarities among the regulations in two places, and sometimes I don't even find any differences in the languages that are written in these two regulations, as if they are two college students submitting a single assignment. And then they are both compliant with the sanitary and phytosanitary requirements which are set forth by the WHO, and also compliant with Codex, which aims at ensuring the health of the consumer and also fair practices in food trade. Now as I go into the differences, you will start to see clear wall between these. And for me, these differences have to be there if we consider how different the culture, food and history of these two places have been. So the first set of difference which we can find among these two regulations, it lies in the requirement of the information that has to be declared to the consumers, which the Europeans, they call as food information to consumers. And this information is something that we generally find on the food labels. So here you can see the requirements of both regulations, and in order to read them, you can pause this video, but I'll move on. So among these, the difference is in the use of veg and non-veg indicator, display of manufacturing date and price. And due to this display of manufacturing date, which is missing in the European version, the way the shelf life of a product is displayed, it also changes. And moving on, EU has separate regulation dealing with the nutrition and health claims. And they have also defined some nutrition and health claims that can be used without any pre-approval. However, I failed to find something like that in case of India. Now this is important because it leads to the consumer protection and also prevents any ambiguity at the end of the food manufacturer. And then in India, the genetically modified organisms and the product produced from them, they are regulated under the rules for the manufacture, use, import, export and storage of hazardous genetically engineered organisms or cells 1989. Which comes under the Environmental Protection Act of 1989 and not any food regulation. While the European Union, it has a separate regulation under the gamut of the food regulations for the GM foods as well. Now this last one may not be of that concern to you, but the kind of research that is going on in the gamut of genetically modified foods, it is high time that the Indian regulations, they are ready and have considered the safety aspects of such foods and ingredients. But now let's move to something that FSCI really needs to apply. Now in the European Union, every entity which is part of the food supply chain, it has to apply the principle of traceability, one step forward and one step back. And there has to be ample documentation which proves that such a system has been implemented. And then if at this point you are wondering then why traceability is necessary, then let me tell you this thing, that in 2016 when the Maggie debacle it happened, it could have been handled much better with less damage to consumers and even the company if there was a food recall plan and there was a food traceability system in place. And I'm saying this because the food traceability system, it forms a backbone of any food recall system. Just imagine if you kept a record of the places where you kept your wallet, then would you ever lose your wallet in your house? I don't think so. And in the same way, if the record is kept for the every ingredient received and every shipment made, then it is easier to get the product out of shelf. It is deemed unsafe after it has reached the market. And then it was after the Maggie case of 2016 that the FSSAI it came up with the food recall procedure in 2017, which requires the food manufacturer to share the procedure with FSSAI in case of a product recall and not before that. While if we talk about the EU regulation, it requires the food manufacturer to have such a procedure in place beforehand. And then the EFSA, it also maintains a website where it contains the information regarding all the recent food recalls that have been made, while I could not find any such link on the website of FSSAI. And lastly, as I was telling you that European Union has suffered a lot of losses due to the BSE crisis, they have created a traceability system called Traces, which identifies the animal starting from the birth by giving it unique tags and creation of an animal passport, which also allows geographical monitoring of that animal. So in case there is any safety related concern regarding the farm from which the animal originated or even in the processing, it can be traced back throughout the supply chain, thereby ensuring that the consumers are never harmed. But again, in India there is no such system, and the way our diets are changing and the way we are becoming more dependent on meat, I feel that such a system would be highly beneficial in case of diseases originating from animals. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you are well and you are following the social distancing norms wherever you are. Now in this video I have not created an exhaustive list of differences. There are many more which I have missed, but what I have mentioned are the ones which I do feel they have to be adopted like in current time. So if you found this information informative, then do like this video and share this video with your friends and family and subscribe to my channel. So I'll see you in the next one.